Baringo residents believe 2 terms may not be enough. They want President Ruto to serve long term. Those are not my words. I've read them verbatim from the Baringo senatorial candidate of UDA. He's called Kiprono Chemutei.
Welcome to AfriPlus News Channel, your trusted platform for deep, fearless, and professional analysis of African political developments. Today's analysis takes us right into the heart of one of the most controversial elections in modern African history, the just concluded October 12th presidential election in Cameroon, and the growing fear that a dangerous trend is sweeping across African democracies. From Yaoundé to Abidjan, and now to Nairobi, something dark seems to be unfolding, and the people are beginning to ask, who is truly ruling Africa? Stay with us to the end as we break down the power play, the manipulation, and the political deals shaping the future of the continent. Before we begin, please remember to like, share, and subscribe to AfriPlus News Channel for more important and relevant updates like this one. The declaration of 92-year-old Paul Biya as the winner of Cameroon's October 12th presidential election has sparked widespread outrage and disbelief across the country. Opposition groups and independent observers claim the election was neither free nor fair, pointing fingers at heavy foreign interference, with many reports suggesting that French President Emmanuel Macron and the French government played a decisive role behind the scenes.
France is reportedly against the candidacy of Chairman Joshua Ossi. This information is found in a French newspaper, Le Journal Pré-Canada, who says Emmanuel Macron has silently sent his support to incumbent President Paul Biya as the candidate for the 2025 presidential election in Cameroon. Many say France is not happy with the Cameroonian opposition, particularly Joshua Ossi Nambangi of the SDF. They say France have not welcomed his moves of eliminating the France CFA as the currency of Cameroon, and also they have not welcomed his federalism ideology as a new form of the Cameroon government. Remember, Joshua Ossi has said he is bringing in a new republic and is throwing away the present republic. It means he's bringing total change for Cameroon and the form of the country in Cameroon. However, this newspaper says France has been working on the ground to see how Joshua Ossi will remain very far away from victory. Many believe that the SDF's downfall is also an initiative of France, who has decided to sponsor a good number of political parties in Cameroon, as reported by this newspaper. And as it stands, France has not openly said something about the presidential election, but journalist Jean-Marc of the Canadian newspaper Le Pré du Canada has said France is silently against the candidacy of Joshua Ossi because he has Pan-African thoughts which are not in favor of France, who has been enjoying a lot of largesse in this West African country.
Paul Biya could now be in power beyond his 99th birthday. Streets in Bamenda City in the English-speaking west of the country are deserted amid fears of unrest. At least 4 people were killed during the protests over the weekend, all in Douala, the authorities said. Meanwhile, opposition challenger Mr. Bakari reported gunfire near his home. The BBC's Paul Biya has been speaking to protesters in Garoua, which is in the northern part of the country.
The so-called saviors of Cameroon tread the streets of Garoua. From the length and breadth of this northern city, you can't help but notice these men, women and children who say they are marching against electoral fraud. Presidential candidate Issa Chiroma Bakari urged them to storm the streets to defend what he describes as his victory in the election. Garoua is his hometown and political stronghold, so his cause resonates deeply with many here.
We want change. It's been long, 43 years since the president has been in power. Normally, he should give up. Cameroonians want change because nothing works in the country. We are fed up.
Behind me, are supporters of opposition candidate Issa Chiroma Bakari. They say that they do not want their victory to be stolen and are insisting that this is a match to liberate Cameroon. Across the country, Chiroma Bakari has called for his supporters to rally and ask the government to give them their victory. But the Minister of Territorial Administration, Paul Biya, says these gatherings are illegal because they have not been authorized. It remains to be seen what the outcome of this will be. Less than an hour later, chaos sets in as security forces use tear gas to disperse the protesters. But many of them remain defiant. We were protesting peacefully, this man says. We weren't even using stones. We raised our hands, yet they still targeted us. What sort of behavior is that? We want change. This is not democracy. At nightfall, the situation became uncontrollable as angry protesters burnt tires on the streets. Once a rarity here, these have become regular occurrences since the son of the soil, Issa Chiroma Bakari, severed ties with his boss, Paul Biya.
We are all Cameroonians here. Why intimidate us? We only seek the truth. We don't want a government that rules by proxy.
As the government beefs up security nationwide, focus remains on this man, the initiator of the protests. When I met him a few days earlier, he displayed unshaken confidence in his plans.
The government is saying that other opposition leaders before you have tried to unseat the President of the Republic via different means, including street protests, and have not succeeded. And some say that your case will not be any different. How do you respond to that?
Well, let us see. Let us see.
In a previous clash here in Garua, this primary school teacher called Zua Hiratu was killed. Her family says she wasn't among the protesters. Each passing day is now a moment of reckoning for her uncle, who stands next to her grave, reflecting on the impact of her demise.
The death of a teacher is a great loss to the whole nation, not just the family. We could say it was a move to settle scores. Maybe the attackers knew she was a teacher.
The next president will have the daunting task of reconciling this highly divided country. Paul Biya, BBC News, Garua.
According to growing accounts, Emmanuel Macron personally rejected the candidacy of Paul Biya's key opponent, Joshua, effectively blocking him from participating in the race. That rejection, as many analysts argue, paved the way for what many Cameroonians now describe as a predetermined victory, and making sure Chiroma was not declared the winner so that the legacy of political recolonization will continue. But if France truly had a hand in shaping this election, what does that say about the sovereignty of Cameroon? Can a nation truly claim independence when its leadership is being decided in Paris rather than in Yaoundé? And most importantly, how long will Africans continue to tolerate such political puppeteering disguised as democracy? Across the continent, the pattern is becoming disturbingly familiar. In Ivory Coast, President Alassane Ouattara's fourth-term victory has drawn sharp criticism and condemnation, with many Ivorians claiming that France once again backed the regime against the will of the people. Opposition voices were silenced, activists were detained, and protesters were met with state repression, all while international observers looked away. Are we witnessing a new era of state capture by foreign influence in Africa? Why is France repeatedly at the center of these political storms? And could this be the reason why democratic transitions across Francophone Africa have become almost impossible? Now attention turns to East Africa, to Kenya, where concerns are mounting that President William Ruto may already be preparing to extend his presidential term in office. Reports suggest that negotiations and political maneuvers are quietly unfolding to make this possible, even as citizens grow increasingly disillusioned with the rising cost of living and unfulfilled promises.
So here are the details about that bill in the Senate Enyumeleta Shida Sana that seeks to extend the term limits for elected leaders, the president, MPs, governors, and MCAs. First of all, of course, Niku, answer the big question: does the bill seek to extend the term limits for elected leaders? The Senate leo pale X wamesema the bill does not extend term limits, and that is a lie. Here's the other than the evidence contained in the copy of the bill, which has been widely circulated. Of course, hizo clauses za kuongeza term limits inaonekana hapo. There is an article which was published on the official Parliament website, and it's entitled "Senate Committee Rejects Cherargei's Constitutional Amendment Bill Amid Overwhelming Public Participation." And in the fourth paragraph, it says, and I quote, "The bill which proposed extending the term limits of the president, members of parliament, governors, and county assembly members also sought to introduce the position of the prime minister and modify the Senate's functions within the bicameral system." So the Senate is lying through their teeth. Evidence iko kwa kalatas. Pengine wafute, this article from their website. Yes, it sought to extend presidential term limits and introduce the position of prime minister. Here are more facts regarding the bill. These facts are important because they help to dispel misinformation. Now, the bill was introduced to the Senate in September last year, and in October, there was a public participation exercise, specifically on the 25th of October at KICC. And this is the report that came from the public participation exercise. The public participation exercise at KICC ended up in the Senate Committee on Justice, Legal Affairs and Human Rights rejecting the bill, while out of 168,801 submissions, only 11 stakeholders provided specific comments on the bill's clauses, while the rest overwhelmingly rejected the proposed amendments. Now, is the bill dead? Because that is the big question. Well, the bill is not dead yet, because even after its rejection by that committee, that article on the official Parliament website says that the fate of the bill now rests in the hands of its sponsor, Senator Cherargei, who retains the right to move it to the second reading despite the committee's rejection. And for the bill to advance, Senator Cherargei must first secure a seconder for the motion and then marshal sufficient support from his fellow senators. Without adequate backing from the Senate, the bill will not proceed to second reading and will effectively collapse at this stage.
Many Kenyans are asking, has democracy in Kenya been hijacked before our very eyes? If citizens can no longer trust their leaders to respect constitutional limits, then what remains of their democratic freedom? When African presidents begin altering laws to suit their personal ambitions, does it not echo the very colonial arrogance that once subjugated the continent? Are African leaders learning from history, or are they repeating its worst chapters in a new disguise? What is most tragic in all this is not only the manipulation of power, but the betrayal of trust. Every election cycle, African citizens turn out in hope, believing that their voices will be heard, that change is possible. Yet time and again, that hope is crushed under the weight of corruption, manipulation, and external interference. The question that now echoes across the continent is haunting. If the ballot no longer speaks for the people, then who does? And why do foreign powers continue to treat African nations as strategic chessboards where their interests matter more than African lives and futures? Is this not a form of modern political slavery masked as diplomacy and aid? This cycle of betrayal must force us to ask deeper questions about leadership and accountability in Africa. Why do African leaders, once elected, so quickly forget the people who voted them in? Why is there such a deep obsession with power, even at the cost of peace, unity, and progress? Are these leaders truly serving their countries, or merely serving themselves and the foreign powers that sponsor them? Until African citizens find the courage to demand full transparency and regional solidarity against manipulation, these political patterns will continue to repeat, from Cameroon to Ivory Coast, and from Kenya to every corner of the continent. Conclusion. What is happening in Africa today is more than a series of isolated political crises. It is the reflection of a larger struggle for control, a struggle between the will of the people and the will of power. Whether it is Paul Biya's contested victory in Cameroon, Ouattara's extended reign in Ivory Coast, or Ruto's alleged term extension moves in Kenya, the pattern is clear. Democracy in Africa is under siege. But what remains uncertain is whether Africans will rise to defend it or allow it to slowly disappear in silence. We want to hear from you. Do you believe foreign powers are behind the manipulation of African elections? Or is the real problem the selfishness of African politicians themselves? Drop your thoughts respectfully in the comment section. Your opinion matters. If you value this kind of fearless analysis, please support AfriPlus News Channel by joining our channel membership or sending us a super thanks. Your engagement helps us continue to bring you truth-driven reports that many others are afraid to tell. Disclaimer. This report is a professional news analysis based on publicly available information and verified sources. It does not aim to accuse or target any individual, government, or organization. All viewers are encouraged to conduct further research and form their own informed opinions. AfriPlus News Channel remains committed to balanced, ethical journalism in line with YouTube's community guidelines.